Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, today's ceremony marking the International Day for the Total Elimination of Nuclear Weapons takes place under extraordinary circumstances. The global pandemic continues to severely affect our work and our daily lives. However, while the fight against COVID-19 has overshadowed everything else, the crises and security threats around the world have not disappeared. Quite on the contrary, it would seem that the pandemic is actually fueling the fire of existing geopolitical conflicts. As Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, the warning lights are flashing. 75 years ago, atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, causing horrendous death and destruction. One would have hoped that we would learn from history, but it seems we haven't really done so. Today, 75 years later, we have to acknowledge that we are still not safe from the devastating humanitarian consequences caused by these weapons. It is actually depressing that we have to mark this anniversary in a world where nuclear weapons still exist. And what makes things worse, the threat of a nuclear confrontation has actually increased when nuclear arsenals are being upgraded and new delivery systems are being developed. In this context, we welcome the strategic stability talks between the United States and Russia in Vienna. We hope that they will lead to an extension of the New START Treaty as well as to negotiations for a more ambitious and inclusive successor agreement. We also call on all other nuclear-armed states to take the disarmament obligations very seriously. Ladies and gentlemen, by now it is clear that the so-called advantages of nuclear weapons simply do not exist. Nuclear deterrence does not increase security. Let's finally lay this myth to rest. As long as they exist, these weapons will remain a constant threat to peace and security for all nations. At the same time, the risk of escalation and miscalculation is growing. Cyber attacks, hybrid threats, hypersonic missiles, and the instrumentalization of disinformation are reducing the available time for deliberate action. What does this mean for us? It means that we have to redouble our efforts. 3 years ago, 122 states have voted for the adoption of the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. 84 countries have signed the treaty, and the momentum is accelerating. Every additional signature and every additional ratification sends a clear message. Right now, we are only a few ratifications away from the entry into force of this treaty. Once we have reached the threshold, I look forward to the first meeting of states parties at the UN in Vienna. Until then, I want to encourage each of you to keep up the pressure in our common endeavor to free the world from all nuclear weapons. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I can assure you that Austria will continue to be actively engaged in building a world free of nuclear weapons, for two simple reasons: to pay tribute to the countless victims of the past and to ensure a peaceful future for generations to come. Thank you for your attention.